Hello everyone, I am Huna Chatterjee and today I would be delivering a short lecture on the partition of India. At first, I would like to thank History Lessons for inviting me to deliver a lecture on this topic. Today's date is very special as today we are celebrating the 75th Independence Day of India. On this date, India finally got its long due freedom from the British rulers. However, the sweet fruit of independence was accompanied by the bitter poison of partition. The partition was the unwanted conclusion of the Indian freedom movement, which not only altered the geographical boundaries in Southeast Asia but also changed the life of millions of people by making them refugees overnight. Hence, it's important that we remember the partition as well while we celebrate the Independence Day of India. The partition of India was the division of British India into two independent and separate nations, that is, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was to be made up of two parts that constituted the northwest and the east, divided by 1,000 miles. Later, in 1971, Pakistan got divided again and Bangladesh was born. But that's a different topic. As when we talk about partition, we essentially refer to the 1947 partition. The lines of the partition was drawn on the basis of religion. The Muslim majority regions went under Pakistan while the areas with non-Muslim majority like the Hindus and the Sikh majority regions remained under India. The provinces of Punjab and Bengal got divided between both India as well as Pakistan. A boundary commission was set up under the chairmanship of Mr. Cyril John Ratcliffe to draw the boundaries of Punjab and Bengal. Partition led to the displacement of a large number of people, during which at least 12 million people were displaced from their original homeland. Further, the partition wasn't a smooth process at all. It involved large-scale violences. The riots that accompanied partition killed millions of people. So, when we talk about the partition, the first question that comes in our mind is, was the partition really inevitable? Wasn't there any other alternative option to it? For answering this question, first we need to analyze the pre partition events that led to the partition. The British government, with its infamous divide and rule theory, tried its best to deploy Hindus and Muslims against each other so that they couldn't unitedly revolt against the British rulers. Their success in this field was marked by the establishment of communal organizations like the Muslim League and the Hindu Mahasabha. By using the politics of separation and representation, these organizations boosted the rising tide of communalism in the country. Before the colonial rule, the Hindus and Muslims had lived together happily for many years, but that old communal harmony was lost in this new politics of separation. The polarization of Hindus and Muslims occurred just a couple of decades in the beginning of the 20th century. But by the 1940s, it was so complete that many people from both communities actually believed that it is impossible for the two religions to live together peacefully. Hence, it can be said that partition could have been stopped or completely avoided if communal harmony of the country was preserved properly. Initially, the researchers in partition studies focused more on the high politics, like the political party leaders and the British officials. The main objective of such researches was to find the guilty man, that is, the person who was responsible behind this partition. While many people considered Muhammad Ali Jinnah as the main culprit, some even laid the blame on Gandhiji and other Congress leaders for accepting this partition. The initial researches focused more on the causes of the partition compared to its effects. However, over the years, there is a significant change in the scenario. Recent researches in partition studies focus more on its effects, the effects it had on the lives of the common people who actually bore the path of this partition. Women especially were one of the worst sufferers of partition as they were abducted, raped, forcefully converted and married. Feminist researchers like Urvashi Butalia, Ritu Menon, Kamla Bhasin have reinterpreted partition from the lenses of these women. Popular historian Shekhar Bandyopadhyay have conducted research on the effects of partition on the marginalized communities like the Namashudras. Such researches have been very much beneficial in broadening the horizon of partition studies. There is also a significant change in the methodology of researches dealing with partition. As government and archival records does not provide much details regarding the lives of general people, hence oral narratives have come forward as a major tool to reinterpret the partition through the perspective of the common man. The basic reason behind the partition was the formation of nation on the basis of religious homogeneity. However, the proponents of partition completely fail to understand the very basic fact that homogeneity is never attainable in the process of nation building. Construction of a nation on the basis of homogeneity is like peeling an onion off its skin. It's a never-ending process. As we can see that even today, 75 years after partition, there are many Hindu families living in both Pakistan as well as Bangladesh. And at the same time, India constitutes to remain home to a large number of Muslim families. So the very basic reason behind partition have proven to be futile. However, partition did taught us a very important lesson that a drive for nation building on the basis of homogeneity could only lead to destruction and devastation. Hence, we shall never forget that the beauty of a nation remains in its diversity and not in its homogeneity. Lastly, I would like to thank History Lessons once again for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share my views with you all. If you guys have any question in your mind, then you can definitely ask me the question in the comment section and do subscribe to History Lessons. Thank you.